Religious versus non-religious versus Christianity. The world is divided. That cannot be argued, as the division worsens. The world is forming two camps, one at war with the other, but how we fight the war and who we align with depends on where the line is drawn. The world agrees that there is only one way to divide us. Politically, humanity is divided into the political left and right. But those who look more closely at the division see something else. The division of left and right does not create two monolithic camps. In these two groups are those who support the existence of the state and those who want to see the state eliminated. Politically, there is a left and right, but there are also anarchists and globalists. In this essay, we will look at how the world is divided from the perspective of religion. Religious debates usually center on differences of opinion between those who have a religious belief and those who deny the validity of supernatural claims. But this division is deeply flawed. The atheist/religious division fails to take into account religions that do not have gods or a belief in the supernatural. Religions are divergent as to supernatural events and God. Buddhism and Scientology are religions that have no theist component. Atheism is a rejection of theism, not a rejection of religion. This assessment is illustrated by the term itself. Atheist is a non-theist, not a person who has no religion. This makes sense because atheism is technically a religion. It has no God, and it does not believe in God, but it is rule-based and believes reality is governed by law. More crucially, atheists are ethical in their approach to justice. The Satanic Temple is a religion which claims to worship the devil. The Church of Satan is opposed to God more directly and completely than atheism is, though atheists operate the Church of Satan. Atheism is against theism and God far more than it is opposed to religion. In short, despite the common acceptance of the paradigm, the division between the religious and non-religious is not a sharp line. We ought to have expected this. There is very little that is common to all religions and no clear way to distinguish between all religions and atheism. We have mentioned Scientology as a secular religion, but religions are of many kinds and highly diverse. Atheists will mock religions for their fecundity without understanding the implications of this diversity. Rarely do atheists note each one of these many religions are different. This difference poses a problem for those who would try and present them as forming a single class of things. Religions are all unique, but more importantly, they are all different from Christianity. The Christian faith is not only different from all of these religious beliefs, but also more different from the other theistic religions than either of them are different from each other or atheism. Judaism and Islam have more in common with each other and with atheism than they have with Christianity. Christianity is a thing apart from all other ideas and belief systems. Christianity is technically a faith. Christianity is not a religion. This division is supported when we look at other ways of seeing division. There are many other classes of things that are incompatible. Ethics and morality are considered similar or even synonyms. However, a closer look demonstrates that there is a distinct difference. Ethical systems are law or rule-based. When one sets out a set of rules that have to be followed, even a constitution, one has created an ethical system. Obedience to these laws does not make one a good person. Indeed, a commitment to the law makes one a legalist, a charge leveled against the Pharisees by Christ. It is easy to posit problems created by too strict an adherence to the law. But moral philosophers have spent hundreds of years trying to discover the key to moral virtue. Some of the greatest minds spent a lifetime struggling with this problem. The key to moral living is called a first-order principle or the categorical imperative. Morality is thought to be governed by an elemental proposition or axiom that, if followed, means we possess moral virtue. Do unto others is considered to be such rule. Kant believed we were to live as if our behavior represented a universal law. In other words, he thought we ought to live as if everything we did was a first-order principle. It is more logical to assume an action ought to create value. Create value is an axiom that could serve as a first-order principle and provide us with insights into the workings of the Golden Rule. Mankind is to live as a stalk of wheat. We need to bear fruit. The need to be fruitful and produce value is taught us in many ways in Scripture. The Bible uses this principle to create two classes of persons. The Bible postulates two groups, the people of the flesh and the people of the spirit. To move from flesh to life requires a death and rebirth. The Bible tells us there are two classes of people, the people who live by the flesh and the people who live by the spirit. Physical man is encompassed by his body. Spiritual man is defined by his spirit, by his works of the spirit. The law and the flesh are of the body, they are physical. Works of the flesh are grounded in law. Ethical compliance is visible in the works of the flesh. The works of the flesh are defined by rites, symbols, ceremony, and regimes that are followed in precise ways. Rules are not wrong, necessarily, but rules are not of the spirit, they are of the flesh, and they do not lead to salvation. Ethics create hierarchies and top-down authoritarian structures. Moral organizations are flat and governed by interpersonal relationships. What we are doing here is discussing different ways of looking at the world. We are looking at the narratives we use to communicate with others. There are, we said, two different ways of understanding this world. These two ways extend through the three pillars of civilization, our economic, political, and religious institutions. Politically, the world is divided into left and right, between conservative and liberal. Economics divides the world into capitalist and socialist groups. Religion is divided into the religious and atheists. But we have also said that these divisions are reflective of a particular way of seeing the world that is superficial and misleading. There is a deeper and more fundamental way to understand reality than these superficial divisions suggest. The world is, at its deepest level, divided into the ethical and the moral. All the above divisions that we looked at reflect a reality that is physical. The common way of talking about the world assumes the world is governed by ethical systems. The common way of seeing division assumes reality is physical. The standard way of thinking gives us an understanding of humanity that assumes humanity has a physical identity. So it is that the world thinks man is a physical creature that can be defined by his flesh. Secularists think the races of man are based on physical differences. If reality is physical and man defined by physical factors, we are composed of three races based on skin color. This has been a way of seeing reality that persisted throughout our history. But if Christianity is a faith and faith is based on morality and morality requires, we subscribe to a reality that is logical, analytical, and based on the coherency of information, the people of the Spirit are a different racial group than those of the flesh. This kind of thinking changes the entire narrative from the one that has dominated the thinking of Western man since the dawn of time. You can deny the significance of Christianity and morality and the spiritual way of seeing things, but you cannot make this narrative coherent. Christianity is not based on ethical rules and ethics, cannot create moral human beings. Information is not physical, and claiming everything that exists is physical cannot create a coherent narrative. The world is physical, narrative cannot even create a coherent ontology, because the claim that physical reality is the only reality is a metaphysical claim. The claim that all of reality is physical cannot be substantiated by empirical science or by observation. The five senses are not able to demonstrate physical reality is real. The observer can subscribe to the unverifiable claim that reality is physical, or observers can embrace the logically coherent narrative that reality is logical, analytical, and spiritual. These two positions are totally incompatible. Each reality is supported by a unique kind of mind and a unique form of humanity. The two realities are the product of two distinct races. The three races narrative only makes sense in one narrative, not the other. A priorians see two races that each have a unique mind, and each race embraces a different reality from the other. One race uses ethics and a physical view of reality. These are sapiens. The other races sees reality as conceptual and themselves as spiritual. Race is defined flesh or spirit. This means the division in the world is along racial lines. The Christian race are saints, and the religious race is ethical. The race of ethical beings are liberal, secular, socialists, religious and atheist, and phenomenological, meaning they think reality is physically real.